Lecture 2. So, in discussing political socialization, what are the sorts of things that can affect a person? Well, mom and dad have an influence, but that influence is unpredictable, and that influence isn't necessarily determinative. In other words, you can't necessarily tell how a person's going to react to mom and dad's ideas once they understand them. Frankly, the best way that mom and dad can affect the kids, and this isn't easy, is to live their beliefs in a positive way. It's like people say about my religion. The worst thing about Christianity are Christians that don't live up to their principles. Well, the worst thing about liberals or conservatives are people who say one thing and then live a different way. Nobody's perfect. Nobody is a paragon of virtue. But one thing that a person can do if they want others to take them seriously is not only walk the walk, but not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. Live your beliefs in a positive way. Be honest about it. Be honest about the advantages and disadvantages, because every choice has a downside. Anyway, mom and dad are some factors, but here are some other factors. Personal experience. About 15 years ago, when I was teaching in Maine, I started teaching a class full of sophomores. And there was one girl who always sat in the back, and she was sort of snotty and sort of witty and yeah, you don't have anything to teach me, b, which isn't too unusual in a normal public school at the sophomore level with girls. But this poor girl got into a near-fatal car wreck. The people with her were badly injured. She was badly injured. She was out of school for about a month and a half, and when she came back, she had all sorts of splints and braces, and she had scars for the rest of her high school years. You think that changed her? Of course it changed her. She became more sober, more serious. She became more kind because she had suffered. Wisdom comes from suffering. There are wisdoms that you can get from other people secondhand. They are helpful. But the most important lessons that we ever learn in life come from pain. Joy, too. It's not all negative. The deepest lessons usually come from suffering. And she suffered. She was one of the nicest people I ever met after the accident. I would never have wished that on her. She wasn't a milquetoast. She wasn't a pushover. She had a personality. She still had a sense of humor. But that spark was leavened with some hard-won wisdom about life being precious, which is something you could hear 20,000 times. Life is precious, blah, 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 until you are in danger, in pain, and it doesn't stop when you want it to stop. Then most people appreciate how precious life is. So all of us go through challenges and experiences as we grow up. Are we a bully? Do we have to face bullies? Do we ignore bullies and let them do what they do to other people as long as they stay away from us? How do you face the bully? That's something that's in common for a lot of people. Do you stand up? Do you run away? Do you give in? Do you do all three, depending upon the circumstance? How do you face school? School asks us to do things that are pretty unnatural. Sit in your seat quietly, listen, take notes, be polite, don't interrupt. Don't just run around and do what you want when you feel like doing it. Pay attention. Do work at home. These are all difficult things. Not everyone can handle it easily. But society requires these skills. So one of the things that schools do, in addition to teaching things like civics, is they teach you how to behave. So do you react well to school? Are you an A student? Are you a failing student who has constant problems? Are you somebody who's comfortable in the school environment? Or does school literally make your skin crawl whenever you walk onto a campus of any kind? Do you like your teachers? Do your teachers seem like morons and idiots? Well, I may seem that way, and I may be a moron and idiot, but I'm still your teacher. Ha! And I know a few things. Or do you hate your teachers? Do you hate school? Is it oppressive? So how we deal with the bully, how we deal with school, how healthy are we? Are we somebody who can run around and never get injured, or are we somebody who runs around and breaks an arm and a leg every couple of years? But it's fine. You get used to it. You put on the cast and you take it off, and everyone sign the cast, and then you wash up after you take off the. There are all sorts of rituals that you go through if you get injured, seriously injured, every so often. Or are you sickly? Do you have a health issue that you constantly got to watch out for? There's the other way that parents affect you, and families. Do you come from a happy family? Now, there's no such thing as a perfect family. All families have their problems. All families have their dark sides, their secrets, and that's because families are made up of human beings, fallible, flawed human beings who try their best, but it's never quite good enough. So have some sympathy for the people around you who are flawed and who aren't perfect and who you have to deal with, because probably they're trying their best most of the time. But some people have to deal with family circumstances that are awful. Do you have a predator in your family or that has access to your home? Do you have somebody with a violent rage or temper? Do you have somebody who's physically or emotionally abusive? Do you have somebody who's manipulative? What are the people in your world like? Do you have brothers or sisters? Are you an only child? Or are you somebody who's in a large family? All of these things affect a person's ideas about politics. Is caring sharing, our hands for helping, not for hurting? Or is it every man for himself? These things are not just a result of the lessons that parents teach. They're also a result of the experiences that we have. What really works for us? What really has hurt us? How do we face and deal with all of these things? We'll continue in Lecture 3.